Hey there, it's Ben from Pattern Profits bringing you the weekend update and weekly watch list for the week of August 1st. First, we're going to take a look at IWO, kind of a double bottom pattern here and push through 227.68 was that pivot. Push through there late last week. Couple of anchored VWAPs there from off of the prior lows. You're in between those. A little higher. You've got year-to-date anchored VWAP and then kind of this 231 to 233 level where we saw support back here. May act as resistance here. We're also a bit over extended, overbought in the short run. So we'll have to see if we get some type of consolidation or pullback this week. FFTY, this one anchored VWAP from off of the low was acting as support back here, then push right through that anchored VWAP off of the swing high late last week. Turn 1020 cloud back to the upside. A little hard to see there. Maybe if I zoom in a little more. Yeah, 1020 cloud kind of right there in line with that anchored VWAP. 5065 cloud still red, declining above. So that would be a logical area for some resistance. But again, that's FFTY. And then the momentum ETF PDP. I highlighted this channel because it seems to be respecting it. So you've kind of had some... you had the prior bounce, then it kind of rolled over, then bounced again. Now here we are bouncing again, coming very close to that upper channel line there. And again, just going to have to see how they act next week. But that is the PDP, the momentum ETF that we track, getting right into our watch list. Couple names from the pollution control group setting up good A-rated group. Not the most exciting, but a lot of the really strong stuff is quite extended at this point. You know, the Celsius Holdings, CELH, and those of the world, those are already quite extended and moved quite a bit, need to consolidate a bit. But there are some other groups that look like setting up for breakouts. I'll go through a few of those. $22 pivot here on ARIS, Aris Water Solutions. Inside day there too on Friday. Wouldn't mind this going sideways a few more days, put in a more traditional handle, allow 1020 cloud to catch up, but with that inside day, be aware, could push up and out depending on how the group acts. And within the group, you also have CLH setting up in the group right there at year-to-date anchored VWAP. Again, this one that has had quite a run off of the low. Wouldn't mind this kind of going sideways a little bit here. Put in maybe a little bit of a handle and then try to push through 100.34 is the pivot there. And again, stretched from 1020 cloud. So sideways consolidation there and then push up and out. Just keep it on that $100.34 pivot above. Going to also take a look at LITE in telecom fiber optics. It's another one that's right at year-to-date anchored VWAP. Double bottom pattern. Again, you're kind of seeing this as a theme. You'll see that in the charts that I'm showing tonight, and you'll note it throughout the market. Lots of setups and lots of groups. This is the most prevalent pattern, is this double bottom. 92.36, the double bottom pivot there. Needs to come through year-to-date anchored VWAP though first, and again kind of stretch, so wouldn't mind sideways a little bit and then see it push through, turn that year-to-date anchored VWAP back to the upside. But again, good volume there late last week. That's LITE. If energy is strong, oil and gas names setting up again. This might be another one of those, and we've talked about this in the past, where it kind of looks like maybe you're going to set up as some type of head and shoulders pattern, and then that right side just keeps right on going. You've got quite a few in the group that had the strong prior run and then consolidating. A lot of them have this cup pattern. Again, this is within oil and gas and energy. 52.37 is the pivot. Wouldn't mind this putting in a little handle below that pivot. And again, sideways consolidation and then push through. But again, it's going to depend likely, how does oil act? How does natural gas act? How does a group act as a whole? So I would be keeping an eye on that, as well as the individual names. EQNR is another one. This one sets up actually a little nicer, almost ready for that breakout 38.70. You'll find this pattern with the little cup that you see here on the right side is the most prevalent going into this week in oil and gas. So whether they put in a handle and move sideways or do they just keep running, a lot of times we've seen with these double bottom patterns, they just go. They don't necessarily need a handle, but they have come a long way in a short period of time. Regardless, 38.70, that's the level to watch there on EQNR. Going to also take a look at Amdocs Limited. This one, 88.18 is where a lot of the eyes are going to be. Little cup pattern. I kind of like this cheap pivot. 87.30, little consolidation here. And 87.30 with big volume may not only push it through the cheap pivot, but might take out that 88.18 level as well in one shot on a strong session. And if we see big volume coming in, also going to take a look at an Aero Defense. This one in specialty steel and the alloys. 37.45, the double bottom pivot here in HWM. This is Howmet Aerospace. We see this big volume coming in and quite a nice move up the right side. And now you're just below that 37.45 pivot. I consider this more as a double bottom pattern, but I do see the potential for kind of this broadening formation. I'll draw that in. But you'd want to at least be aware of that if it does break out, because as you come up towards the upside and come through this pivot, I'd be aware of this trend line above, just in case it decides to set up more as like a broadening formation. And especially when we see things were tighter back here, and then they got a little bit loose in the structure here. So a lot of times that breakout, if you're tracking that ascending trend line, a lot of times it'll find resistance there. This sets up as a broadening formation. Ideally, if you do go through this pivot and that comes on big volume, and we have seen big volume coming in, you want to make sure you push up and through that ascending trend line. It doesn't roll over there and back below pivot. So something to keep an eye on, not only with HWM, but whenever you see that broadening formation type of setup. In the same group, TDG and 633.34 double bottom pivot. You had the undercut here on the right side where you took out the left side. That's what we always like to see. Big volume came in and then nice move off of the bottom. You're back above year-to-date anchored VWAP. This is another one, though, that's come a long way in a short time, as most of the market has been strong for a couple weeks now. So if we can move sideways here, consolidate a little bit, allow 1020 cloud to catch up price, then push up and through that pivot. Volume shell point of controls right there too. Push through there. I think it sets us up better to get a run back towards prior highs, and not just with TDG, but through the market in general. You're going to find this double bottom pattern really, really prevalent this week. And if we want to make a run towards those prior highs on the left side, you really want to get some type of consolidation in here, because a lot of them have come a long way in a short period of time, and oscillators overbought into this week. One more we're going to take a look at, and I like how GitLab's shaping up here, GTLB. And the thing I like about this, zoomed in a little too much there, we've got power earnings gap back here, held, came back down, retested that anchored VWAP from off of the power earnings gap. And then these levels, the VWAP from the high, the VWAP from the IPO, let me zoom out just a little bit more. You'll see this anchored VWAP back here from the IPO, this one from the high, and they're kind of acting like fibs as price makes its way higher up the right side, tend to tag those levels year to date, push through, then tag the VWAP from the high, come back, retest the year to date anchored VWAP, then push through, then tag and test the VWAP from the IPO, come back, retest. So GTLB especially, I know, has been wearing out some of the traders in it because it hasn't really made that progress and really had that lift yet. But through that VWAP from the IPO, that would be the level that I think you could get a little more momentum to the upside and up the right side and start taking out some of these prior highs. Right now, you're still trading below that, even recently trading below VWAP from the high. This was still declining. Now they've kind of flattened out here. So you start to push up and through those, turn them back to the upside. I think you've got a better shot at getting some momentum here. Then you want to just see that volume come in as it climbs the right side. But again, that's GTLB, GitLab Inc. And that's all I have into the week ahead. Hope you have a great trading week, and I will see you over on FinTwit.